Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about a handful of different options when it comes to buying a house. If we were sitting face to face, just having coffee together, chatting about the home buying process, either in person or over Zoom. By the way, if you're thinking about buying real estate soon here in Oregon, I'd love to do that with you. I'd love to chat with you face to face, either in person if you're local, at a coffee shop, or over Zoom. That's fine too. Let me know. Feel free to shoot me an email, or you can book with me directly through my website, link in the description below. My husband and I work with a lot of buyers as realtors in the area that come to us from this YouTube channel, and we would love to work with you too. But if we were sitting face to face, chatting about the buying process as a first-time buyer, or even not as a first-time buyer, because guys, maybe you bought 5 years ago, but things change. Real estate's constantly changing, and you maybe have forgotten some of the things. I know that's very, very common, even if you've bought before. So this is stuff you want to know. So basically what we're going to be talking about today is what I would tell you if we were sitting face to face and you were telling me, Mariah, I want to buy a house. What is something that is really important to know if I'm on a budget in general, but especially if I'm a very first time buyer? This is what I would tell you. I would say, don't limit yourself to a single family home. I know a lot of buyers only want a single family home, that regular, I'm looking at one right now over to my left. It's a blue house with a nice wooden door. There's a star on the door, probably about 1,200 square feet. Right over there is what I'm looking at. The house, you just want a house like that. You want a yard, square house. You want no attached walls to anyone. And I get it. But let me just tell you, the second house that my husband and I purchased was a townhouse. Our very first house. It was a house on a side of town we did not want to live on, but it was all we could afford. We were very young. We got married really young when we bought our house, and it was all we could afford, so we were super happy to buy it, even though it was in a side of town we knew we definitely didn't want to raise a family in, for example. So we lived there a little bit, and then we decided we want to be on this other side of town, which is really where we want to be for the unforeseeable future. More desirable side of town, much higher home prices. We could not afford a single family home on that other side of town. But what we could afford was a really beautiful 3-story townhome. Yes, it had HOA fees. Yes, there were attached walls. But you guys, buying that townhome was one of the best financial decisions that we ever made, because that townhome gave us so much equity in just a very short amount of time. We did not... a couple years. We lived there a couple years. And then I know not every market you're going to be able to live somewhere for 2 years and sell it and make a really insane amount of money, because not every market's going to appreciate the insane amount that we saw a handful of years back. We saw some crazy home appreciation. However, over time, homes do go up, and it is a good idea to buy real estate. Basically, what I'm trying to say is we bought that home, that townhome, and it was such a great decision because after living in that townhome, building equity every month, we were paying down our mortgage, building equity. We were able to live in something that we did own and we felt comfortable in. It was very nice, and it had a lot of square footage, although the only downside was it wasn't a residential home. But a regular residential home that was as nice and had as much square footage as this townhome would have been way, way, way out of our price range. So we were able to live comfortably while gaining equity in our home, and until we got to the point where we were ready financially to move to our next home. Then we were able to sell that townhome and buy a home that has a really awesome yard and checked all of the boxes, also in a side of town we want to be in, and all of those things. However, we would have not been able to buy that last house that we bought if we did not first buy the house on the side of town that we really didn't want to live in, but we knew it's a sacrifice. We'll live here for however many years we need to until we have enough equity to sell. And then we rolled it on over to the townhouse, where it was the side of town we wanted to be in, but it was a townhouse. We knew we didn't want a townhouse forever. It actually worked out perfect because right when our daughter started walking was when it was a good time for us to sell, and we then decided it was a good time for us to get a yard. Up until then, we really didn't care about having a yard. We were just happy to be building equity somewhere that we could afford and enjoyed being, if that makes sense. And so my whole point of saying all of this is, don't limit yourself, first-time buyers. Don't limit yourself to a home that is either in a very specific location or only a residential home, because we have seen not just that situation with ourselves, we have seen so many buyers over the years who would not have been able to become homeowners, buy houses that got them their foot in the door in real estate, and they became homeowners. They started building equity. They stopped throwing away rent every single month, all because they were willing to be flexible and not just say, I'm only buying if it is a square 3-bed 2-bath house with a fenced yard and no attached walls. So what I want to talk to you guys about today is that you have options. We have helped many families over the years buy all of these options that I'm going to share with you about. And these are families. I'm thinking of a handful of amazing families that I'm so grateful we got to work with in my mind right now. And they would have not qualified for a regular residential home of any kind. But they are so glad now, years later, that they just invested in the real estate that they were able to invest in at the time. What that is that I wanted to talk with you guys about are the options in Salem and the surrounding towns. But all these options are in Salem specifically. So if this is where you want to land, you can find them in Salem. I can find them for you in Salem. These options are other ways to invest in real estate and become a real legit equity building, money sheltering homeowner. This will help you become a homeowner without the high price tag of a regular residential home if you're not quite ready for that yet. So let's talk about it. The first one we already mentioned is a townhome. You can buy a townhome that is new construction or newer construction that has beautiful finishes and very large square footage for an insane amount less than what you could get for that same criteria in a residential home, like not even comparison. The next option is a condo, similar to a townhome, but not the same. Usually HOA fees are higher in a condo, and usually condos themselves, though, are going to cost, at least in our area, this is not true all over. We don't have like high-rise condos here. We have some cute condos downtown, but this is not like a city, where you're going to see like really expensive condos. So when you see a condo in Salem, condos here are generally going to be less expensive than a townhome, even, if that makes sense. Another option is a manufactured home in a park. We have helped so many families buy manufactured homes in parks. They own the home, not the land. Yes, they're paying space rent every month, but they're still able to turn around and sell that manufactured home and have money to roll into their next investment once they're ready to move. And although they're paying space rent and they own the home, with the space rent and the mortgage for their home, because manufactured homes in parks cost so much less than a regular residential home the same size, you are going to have a payment so much less, even on top of the space rent, than if you were to get a mortgage payment for, let's just say a 1,900 square foot regular residential home versus a 1,900 square foot manufactured home on its own land. Oftentimes these parks even have fenced backyards. We can totally help you find something like that. And we do have financing options for that too. It's a separate lender, separate type of financing. The next option is a 0 lot line home. Not as common, but we do have these here. Very similar to a townhome, but not quite the same. A 0 lot line home, it kind of similar to a condo as well. Honestly, it looks most like a duplex, except you only own one unit. You own one side, and then you do have a shared wall with someone else. But other than that, you usually have a yard. It's usually fenced. And the house itself, like when you're inside of a 0 lot line home, it feels like you're in a regular old residential home, and you do not have the price tag of one. And the next option is going to be a duplex. Now, this is not necessarily, this just isn't a inexpensive option, but it could be a wise financial option, because obviously you could live in one side or rent the other side out, and that could be that could make it more, I guess, financially savvy for you and affordable for you, as far as the monthly payment goes, if you go that route. So anyway, you guys, that's just a handful of things to consider and think about if you are a first-time buyer. Like I mentioned, I'd love to chat with you if you are thinking about buying, whether you are moving to the area or you already live here or thinking about selling. We work with lots of buyers and sellers in general in the Willamette Valley. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up button if you grab value from this video, and I'll see you guys soon.